Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name's Dean Clayton, and welcome to the very last SMAXTEMBER 2022 session. I am rather excited, upset. I don't know. I'm a mix of emotions, but we are here. It's the end of another SMAXTEMBER month, and as always, we end with our review and award show. We have also got Max dressed up. He's got his bow tie and he's got his trophy ready to hand out for the awards later. So we'll get started. And just to first, we'd like to do a quick message from Jacques, who obviously presented yesterday in the ESM Vision session. He wanted to pass on some news to you all. So let me just run the VT.
Dear SMAX aficionados, I'd like to thank you for this second edition of SMAXTEMBER, which was a great success. Thanks to you, of course. We've been really pleased with the audience, the participation, and the engagement level. We've almost doubled the number of attendees compared to last year, and this is thanks to you, of course. We've also expanded the scope of what we covered in SMAXTEMBER this year to automation, integration, cloud, because we've heard that it's something that matters a lot to you. We've also seen a great deal of challenges and showdown, and thank you for your passionate participation, the emulation it has created, the friendly competition as well between customers, partners, and Micro Focus employees. All that shows that we have a great and vibrant community around SMAX, and for that, I'm very grateful and thank you a lot.
Okay, so thank you, Jacques. I think that's a very lovely message for him to put together. I hadn't seen that before, so it's quite nice to see them kind words. And a lot of what he said is very true. I think, certainly from my side and what we've done with running the sessions and some of the feedback and the questions we've seen and the nice comments and everything else, and what we've seen over the people reaching out to us at SMAXTEMBER@microfocus.com and some of the engagement we've seen on the SMAX portal, it's been, I've certainly enjoyed the interaction, and I hope you all have as well. Because we do always do this kind of little mini review of where we are, I thought I'd share some stats with you on overall on how things have gone. So just to kind of give you some of the numbers, as Jacques mentioned, we had a significant improvement in the number of people who actually registered. So we had over 800 people registered so far. It still actually is open. So if there is anyone else that wants to register, they're always welcome to watch all the content on demand. The other thing that I always like to share is kind of that split between the different regions out there. So obviously the Americas, which includes Canada and LATAM as well, and South America. We then, of course, obviously have EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and then obviously APJ. And you can kind of sort of see that this kind of lines with where a lot of Micro Focus business is, where majority of it is across the EMEA region. So obviously, should we say 2/3 of the attendees from there. But it's really good to see the growth in the others as well, because compared to last year where we had, obviously, you say half the number of registrations, we were probably a lot less specifically in APJ. But also in the Americas. So it's good to see the growth there and having that global community aspects. The other thing that I wanted to mention as well is, as of right now, we now have actually 37 sessions available, all available on demand. And that includes this one, which will be the 37th after the end of this live session right now. So you can obviously see them and watch them at any time. And we may add a few more as well over the next few weeks, but more on that later. In terms of the most watched session, Personally, I'm not surprised because I think a lot of work was put into this one, and it was certainly something that was key for me and the others involved in the SMAXTEMBER team on what we wanted to do. And that was, of course, the Getting Started with SMAX session that was originally aired on the 5th of September, 5th of SMAXTEMBER, where we showed parts 1 and 2. We combined them to make a nice 30-minute session that's available on demand. Interestingly, we don't normally include the opening keynote as part of the most watched sessions, because typically when we do these things, the keynote is normally that one that a lot of people watch before they see any of the others. But what we found is actually that session is almost beating in terms of actual overall views, which is absolutely fantastic to see. And the other thing as well is we did release obviously part 3, all about service catalog. And understanding a little bit more about service catalog offerings and service definitions and how that all interplays with itself. And that in itself obviously was an on-demand only session, and that one actually has been very high as well. So it's good to see that we're seeing people continue to go back to some of those recordings. If we then look at overall numbers of how many sessions, should we say how many views we've had across it all. So even though we had over half the amount of sessions last year. So for those that weren't with us, last year we did 2 sessions a day, basically to try and see if that worked for different time zones. But I don't think it really helped that much. But we've had a much larger increase in the number of live views. So almost 1.2K, 1,000 live views. And then on demand has far exceeded that as well. So for me, that's absolutely fantastic, especially considering obviously the lower number of sessions that we have compared to last year. So and probably my most favorite statistic that I pulled out when I went and looked at the numbers, when you kind of boil that all down and you take into account the length of all those sessions, even though the majority of them are only 30 minutes long or thereabouts, that's over 9,000 hours of SMAX goodness that's been watched by all of you. So to me, that's absolutely outstanding. And I think, for me, that's all about leveling you up, moving you from that zero to hero. I mean, you're all the hero in my eyes. So it's really good to see that we've got that set up there. So I thought we'd share those numbers before we move forward. Okay. And I know I've seen a couple of people ask this question in the Q&A. If you have any questions as we go, feel free to post them in there. I'll try and answer them as we go if they're needed. But in regards to the overall SMAXTEMBER content, don't worry if you missed a session. We will be making it all available for at least all of October. So throughout October, everything will be available on demand. We're going to keep obviously the SMAX portal open as well. We will disable the ability to request a trial tenant from there, and we may turn a few things. But even if you wanted to, maybe work on a SMAX app, I know there was a few people that registered for the SMAX app challenge but didn't actually submit anything. You're almost welcome to do that through that process as a way, and we certainly help and work with you potentially to make that public and available to others. But what we're also going to do this time is we're going to continue with the Monday with Max newsletter emails. So the Monday with Max SMAXTEMBER Monday update will still continue, and we'll use that to keep you up to date on what's happening. So that will happen every Monday. Probably normally around about lunchtime in Europe. Those will go out, and as part of that, we're going to give you a few things. So one of the things that we're keen to do is obviously do a survey with you all, get some feedback on how the events run, if there's anything we can improve for next time. Maybe replace me with someone much better looking. That was always probably a good thing to do. But we'll send that survey out, and we'll be really looking to get your feedback on how we can make things even better next time. And also we do do have some potential plans for additional on-demand content. One thing that we haven't uploaded yet was all the larger videos from the SMAXPERT Showdown Challenge. There's a few that are missing, and we'll make sure we get them uploaded next week, because I think they'll be useful for helping understand what's happening with that. But we'll also keep you informed of any other events that are happening within the SMAX enterprise service management space of Micro Focus, including things like our SMAX user groups and maybe other sessions that might be useful to you. So look out for those Monday with Max emails. They will be coming out, as I said, every Monday for all of October. And we'll also tell you as we get towards the end of October how we're going to be making that content available to you after the event officially closes. We will obviously, should we say, remove access as of the end of October, but it shouldn't be too long before it all becomes available in a new enablement site that we're working on in the background. Okay, so that's our little review. We only want to do a little review, of course, as part of this. What we all want to be here for is, of course, those SMAXTEMBER Awards. Who are those potential winners as part of either the SMAX Challenge Awards or even as part, or more importantly, well, not as important, but certainly something I think receives a lot of positive feedback around with our SMAXPERT Showdown Champion of 2022. Who is that ultimate SMAXPERT for this coming year? And of course, as part of that, we have a lovely selection of trophies that we hopefully may be sending out to the various people as part of all of this. And we'll organise that with the appropriate winners when we reach that point. Okay, so first up, what we thought we'd do is just do a little recap on the SMAXPERT Showdown. We're gonna tease a few things in the way that we're running this. There's a bit of flipping between the SMAXPERT Showdown and the SMAX Challenge Awards, just to make it a bit more interesting, build up a bit of tension, shall we say. So as we remember, when we entered SMAXTEMBER, we had a full 10 SMAXPERT teams set up, that lovely collection there. Of course, we did unfortunately lose the Super Supremes after week 2, unfortunately due to a variety of different reasons, but you know, hopefully maybe they'll come back next year and show their worth that time. But in terms of overall rankings, as we said, we had 4 weeks of our pop quizzes. And during those 4 weeks, as you can see from this slide, was the overall ranking. So we basically said, depending on how you scored, not on the actual points that you score, how many questions you got right, but overall ranking within the SMAXPERT, you got 10 down to 1 point. And there was additional points available if you beat the Dr. SMAX, which only really happened on the 1 week by a couple of teams, those at the very top of that list. So originally, as part of that, obviously there was 40 points up for grabs. As you can see, eSmackers jumped out to a pretty substantial lead as part of that, and SMAXity and SMAXtronauts and probably SMAXAtins try to keep up with them. And then you kind of get into the middle of the pack, the Alt Vikings and SMAXimus Prime there sitting in the middle of the pack, with BasiSMAX and Data Bacchanali towards the bottom. Interesting to note, Super Supreme's score is based off 2 weeks, so they actually did reasonably well after the first 2 weeks, so may have been towards the top end of that pack. But who knows? It's unfortunately they are removed from that overall ranking. So that was the scores, and obviously how we rank them. Now, as we then moved into the second part of the SMAXPERT Showdown Challenge, which was all about building that a SMAX Studio app, which as all of you hopefully would have seen, was the session that we showed on Tuesday this week. So it's SMAXPERT Showdown Session 5, which is still available on demand. We went through and showed some of those apps, and we talked about the review criteria as part of that. One thing that we didn't mention in that session was actually how many points was potentially available for that SMAXPERT Showdown app. We decided very early on that we wanted to weight that app significantly in terms of the points. So actually for that app, there was a potential for up to 60 points available to each of the different teams as part of what they do with the app and against the criteria that we put together. So if you look at the rankings that we have here, that very much means that it's all to play for with how they did on those apps. And of course, we've done that review. We've gone through with that as part of the team. We've cross-checked against each other to make sure we've got it appropriately correct. And at this precise junction, I am going to announce who are the top 5, but in no particular order. So imprint that order there on your mind, and let's see how much that changes as we go into that top 5. So in no particular order, and I'm going to have to say that a few times just to make sure you don't think we're cheating. So SMAXtronauts, they are in the top 5. They did very, very well, I think, overall as you saw in the quizzes. We also have SMAXers, who were obviously first place coming out of the quiz. We have SMAX, which, considering they were at the bottom after the quiz, obviously shows you how well they've done with the app and what they've put together. So what does that mean? We shall see. We also have SMAXity. They're in there as well. And the final member of that top 5 is the Alt. That's another one of our partners. So if we look at what that relies in our top 5, we have 3 for Micro Focus, 1 being Micro Focus pre-sales for Europe, 2 for the Micro Focus technical success, who probably their jobs are on the line if they don't do well as part of this competition. And we have 2 of our SMAX partners, Limit IT and Bazatech. So congratulations to all 5 of you to be in that top 5. But we're not stopping there. So we're going to announce who was 5th. That's right. So, any thoughts? That's right. It was SMAX. Whilst they did an absolutely amazing job with their Office Desk Reservation SMAX Studio app, and they've done a really good job with around documentation, the demo, really well thought on the app, they were just that little bit behind to be able to make it into any past 5th place. But I want to congratulate the team from Bazatech. They've done an absolutely fantastic job. Their video is obviously available and was shown as part of the session on Tuesday. And we'll look to probably separate and add that as a separate recording as well. But we're certainly planning to discuss with Bazatech over the next couple of weeks about getting their Office Desk Reservation app available on the ITOM Marketplace for you to download and install and see just how good an app it is. So thank you and congratulations to SMAX. Absolutely well deserved to get that 5th place there. Okay, so we're not going to end there. We're going to give 4th place away as well. Yeah, that's right. Right here, right now. Here it comes. It's SMAXtronauts, our Micro Focus pre-sales team from International, which primarily covers Europe, led, of course, by Isabel Roth, who is the head of the pre-sales International. They came in 4th place with their service operations service tracker. And, you know, with this one, ultimately, if you look at it compared to where they were quiz, they have technically dropped 1 place, but they did do a really good app. It was very well thought through. But there was a couple of places where we felt, you know, if we looked at compared to those that finished in front of them, there was a few extra things, maybe with a video, a bit of a voiceover, and a bit more understanding of what's been put together. And there was a few other things where it could have been a bit more rounded out, maybe with roles or some bits of additional documentation. But as far as we're concerned, it's absolutely fantastic achievement, absolutely brilliant app that was put together, and we're really pleased. And again, that'll be another one that we'll look for during October to get pushed out into our ITOM Marketplace for you to download for free and put into a SMAX tenant and play with as you require, and then modify as you need. Okay, so that's 5th and 4th. But what about the top 3? We still have we need to decide which one of them is going to be crowned that SMAXPERT Showdown champion of 2022. So let's take a look at the first of our three finalists. The first one we're going to look at, and again, this is in no particular order. We thought we'd mix it up as part of it, is eSmackers from Micro Focus Technical Success. These are one of our team parts of Micro Focus that help and assist and do a lot of good around SMAX and helping customers and partners with some of the training, and also are heavily involved with things like our SMAX user group and community. So a very well and interesting app that they put together, which they codenamed Skynet. So SMAX and Kubernetes yielding node evolution technology. I'm going to play a video that's going to kind of walk it through. But I think what's really, it may not be quite obvious to begin with, but what they've done with this app is they've kind of taken the concepts of automation and integrations, pulled that in with some of the new capabilities we've got within SMAX around having custom widgets in the portal, and developed a way whereby you can sort of monitor an environment and potentially automatically extend it based on overall usage and utilization. So without further ado, I'll shut up and I'll let them talk through and talk about their app and what they've done.
So how do we access Skynet? The first thing we need to do is log in to the self-service portal. Note the SMAX category with the Skynet logo. Click on it. Now we can view the SMAX resource report. The resource report displays graphically both the percentage of total memory used on each node, as well as the percent of total CPU used on each node. The report also shows the status of each node is ready. Notice that when a node's memory usage is over 80%, the resource report indicates that the node is saturated as opposed to healthy. If too many nodes become saturated, the SMAX environment may become unstable due to insufficient resources. Using the graphical view, you can quickly see the overall status of your SMAX environment. If we select the table view, we see a much more detailed view of all of the metrics, as well as some additional fields not available in graphical view. The status field indicates that the node is in the operational state. Notice that the memory percentage is approaching 80. Now that we can see what the SMAX resource report shows, let's see how we can configure it. Well, the Skynet application can be accessed through the menu under the Run subheading. But remember, the user accessing Skynet must be configured with the Skynet administrator's role before they're able to see the application. So make sure you add it. The grid view of Skynet shows the resources that are being used to determine if the system has sufficient resources to run in a stable manner. Notice the two types of Skynet records, cluster and node. The cluster record refers to the parent, or in our case, the control plane. The node type is referring to the worker nodes the control plane is managing. If we open one of the node records, we can see the various resources that Skynet is monitoring. The name is the host name of the node. We also see the status of the node as reported by Kubernetes, as well as the total memory and percent of memory used. There is also CPU information, but for our demo today, we're going to be using Skynet to monitor the memory utilization of a cluster. Notice on the node record, we also have a field labeled member of cluster. This field displays the name of the cluster in the environment. If we select the workflow tab, we can see what phase the node is in. In this case, we have the node resource type in the operational phase. We can retire the node once it is no longer in use by the control plane. In the history tab, we can see a record of what Skynet is doing. Notice that every 5 minutes, any increase or decrease in resources on any node being monitored is updated. Skynet uses this information to determine if new records are needed. If we move to the cluster record, we can see where the magic happens. The cluster record contains several important fields for us to look at. For starters, The cluster record shows us the current average memory usage across all nodes in the cluster. It also shows us what nodes belong to the cluster. This record is what monitors and can schedule additional resources to be added if needed. The memory threshold is configurable. The default is 80% and is what we will use today for our demo. If we notice the history of the record, we can see that it is constantly being updated anytime there is a change in resources to any of the worker nodes. If the cluster average memory increases above the threshold, then Skynet will single 00 to create a new VM so we can add additional resources via a new image. If we look in the Skynet workflow in Studio, we can see the rule that will trigger the new node. If the cluster average memory increases beyond the cluster memory threshold, 00 will trigger creation of a new VM. So let's monitor our cluster from within the cluster record. As we can see, our memory threshold is set to 80%, while our cluster average memory is dangerously close at 78.5%. If we select the History tab, we can monitor any changes happening to the cluster record. Notice in the history, the cluster average memory has been updated from 79.25 to 80.5. That indicates it's beyond the threshold. If we go back, notice that a new field has appeared named New Worker Node Requested. Skynet has identified a memory resource issue and automatically triggered additional resources. If we navigate to Integration Management Endpoints, we can see a new job has been triggered. If we connect to 00, we can see that SMAX has initiated a new flow. The vCenter deploy VM job is what will actually deploy the new image. As you can see, there are currently 4 worker nodes that belong to this cluster. If we continue to monitor the grid view, we will see the new image appear in the list. So notice a new node now appears. If we select our cluster, we can see a few changes. The first one being the new worker requested flag has been set from yes to no because we now have an additional worker. We can see 5 as opposed to 4. Our cluster average memory has now lowered to 66.2%. If we view the SMAX resource report, we notice that an additional node has been added. The green box indicates the last node added. Notice the memory and CPU usage is quite low. Skynet will now rebalance all resources on all nodes. So we'll patiently wait to see what happens. And there you have it. Skynet has rebalanced all nodes. The memory percentages are all lower, and our system is operating within normal parameters.
Wow, look at that. That is an absolutely fantastic app that eSmackers have put together. I want to congratulate the team on an excellent job there. As you can see, what they've done is they've taken some of that power, that automation, put in some scripts, and obviously it's a way to manage and maintain and potentially auto-scope SMAX and then your Kubernetes environment. But if you think about that more generically, there's quite an interesting potential there for other areas where that could be extended. So I want to thank Aaron, Carl, Daniel, and Mickey on an excellent and brilliant submission there on Skynet, and hopefully it doesn't result in any terminators being created. Now, did they win? I'm not going to tell you that. You're going to have to wait a little while and maybe wait and see what the other teams have put together. So with that, we'll take a little break from the SMAXPERT finalists and we'll jump across now to the SMAX challenge. And as part of the SMAX challenge, we've set up, we've got 2 award winners who we felt have done really well and produced some absolutely fantastic SMAX Studio apps. But we also wanted to do some honorable mentions. And these are ones where we felt, whilst maybe it wasn't quite as good as some of the as the overall winners, there's some definite potential about what's been put together there, and certainly something that I think we can certainly look at potentially being the start of something we can get as part of our item marketplace for others to download, but also being able to put that. Do an extension of that, maybe showcase that as part of our SMAX user group community. Before I go on to that, I just spotted a question that's come through from someone about the what eSmackers has done. And they asked the question about how does it actually create and add the node? Well, actually, there's some scripts that they've used, some APIs that they've used within SMAX to be able to do that. So that's something they've done as part of that. And we'll make sure that that is something that we'll hopefully publish on our marketplace and you'll be able to get your hands on and try with yourself. So anyway, back to the SMAX challenge and our honorable mentions. So we've got 3 different groups that we wanted to mention as part of this. So first up is the group SMAX Canadigas, who are 2 people from our professional services division, part of our global delivery center. And the team put together basically a catalog content starter pack for joiners, movers, and leavers. And while it's not overly advanced, I think it's a really good starting point for starting to build that out, because we all know joiners, movers, and leavers is very different from one organization to another. But having that little quick start that maybe saves 2 or 3 hours of the initial setup, I think is a really good place to start from. So I want to congratulate them both on a fantastic job of what they've done there. I also want to call them out as well, because some of you may or may not know this, but with the weekly quizzes that we did, we didn't originally plan to make it audience participation, but it was sort of a happy coincidence that occurred. We spotted it in week 1. Well, in week 2, SMAX Canada's, and I'm not entirely sure which one of the 2 it was within the team, actually beat the majority of the SMAXPERTs as part of it, and they got onto the actual leaderboard. So again, congratulations for the work that you've done. We really appreciate it. And what we'll be doing is we'll obviously be sending out a certificate for what you've done, and we'll also reach out to you about how we can share that with a wider community, hopefully during October. The next honorable mention that we want to bring in is one of the SMAXPERT teams themselves, SMAXTEMBER Prime. This team, who did, if you may remember, did a Jira integration for their submission of the SMAXPERT Challenge app, actually did 2 other submissions as well. Unfortunately, because of the rules that we had put in place, we could only accept 1, and we decided to go with their Jira one based on the feedback we had from them. But these 2 apps, I think, was definitely worth sharing as well. So the first one that they did, a little bit of a proof of concept, but it was doing a voice only through Siri integration to create a ticket in SMAX. So creating a request for support. They've done a nice little demo video of that. And what we'll do is we'll look to try and share that through our SMAX user groups during October. The second submission that they did was a nice network, should we say network as a service set of catalog content that are plugged in with an integration and basically designed to help do with configuration of a VLAN on a specific port or setting up ACL for a device. And I think it's a really clever showcase of what you can do with the power of automation and the workflows that we have in the wider ESM solution. So again, whilst commiserations are not making the top 5 in the SMAXPERT Showdown, I would like to congratulate them on being called out for what they did as part of those 2 sessions there. Our third and final honourable mention has already been mentioned today, and that is SMAX. Again, SMAX, as you saw earlier, they finished 5th in the SMAXPERT Showdown. They as well also submitted a second submission to as part of their overall work on the SMAXPERT Showdown. And this was for an updated version of the time tracker app that exists today. And we wanted to call this one out, one, for the fact that they actually did this, and as an extra piece of work, but also for the fact that this was a really good example where they'd taken one of the apps that's available today on the item marketplace, freely available, downloaded it, and then modified it for how they would need to use it. And I think, for us, that's a really powerful message about how the flexibility of our studio apps are, how easy it is to change the configuration and modify if you need it for your out of the box or for other configuration that you've done. So, and that app as well was originally done by one of our other partners, Ioko. So really good to see that. And we wanted to mention, and again, with that one, what we'll probably do is that V2 of that time tracker app, we'll look to try and get that added onto the marketplace as well. All right. So those are our honorable mentions as part of the SMAX Challenge Awards. So with that, we'll switch back to the SMAXPERT Showdown. And this time, let's take a look at the second of our three finalists. And our second finalist is SMAXity. And SMAXity are, again, part of Micro Focus Technical Success. So Dave and Eva, or Machen, are both based in Europe, in the UK, UK and Ireland. And they did a submission all about patient care. And I think I'll let the video run for this one. Eva's going to walk through some typical use cases you'll find of the app and how it would be used in the real world. So, without further ado, let's roll the VT.
Paul feels uncomfortable. He had a serious sore throat, can't even drink, so he wanted to book an appointment. In the appointment offering page, he selected the preferred clinic, department, and the specialty. Our system will filter the available consultant suitable for him. Select the consultant. You will see the details of specialty. And then select the time slot. You also can provide the insurance information. And later, you will receive an email with your appointment details, the time, location, and your consultant. Let's move to the backend. In the time slot page, you can see the time slot was booked for Paul. And this appointment was created automatically for Paul as well in approved phase. On the appointment date, Paul goes to the clinic. He can check in at the reception or by self-check-in device. Then the appointment will move to the check-in phase. Let's see how consultant works. As a consultant, she can get all the appointments details booked for her. She can filter the appointments which is ready to see her. And then they had a conversation together with some checks. Finally, she thinks Paul was infected and needs some antibiotics. So she selected the treatment type as medical and safe. You can see the appointment move to the down phase. All the fields changed to the read-only mode. And the treatment record was created. She filled in the summary with the patient's symptom and her diagnosis. Selected some medicine and provide the prescription. Save the treatment records. It will move to the in-care phase. And later, the patient will receive an email with his prescription. In the patient page, the doctor can check all his historic treatment records. With those records, it can help doctors better understand the patient's condition and make a more accurate diagnosis. Let's see another user case. Dr. Claire found she had another patient who was waiting to see her. John is an old man. He fell down at home because of the poor visibility and can't move now. Claire thinks he needs the inpatient care. So she selected the inpatient treatment type and saved the appointment. A treatment record was created automatically for John. She filled in the summary, requested a device for John, and set the patient room. John moved to the inpatient now, and the ward manager needs to request a device for him. He selected the request a mobility aid for patient and requested. Fill in the justification, select the patient, and the location will be populated automatically. Then select the device and submit the request. You will receive an email notification that the request was created successfully, and same for the reservation. You can see the reservation details with the start time and the end time. Now let's move to the backend. Go to the request and select the reservation. You can see the device was added. Go to the task plan. We can see the automation task was completed. And now it's pending on a manual task. The device needs to be delivered. Go to the task page and select the task. Validate and save. Back to the request. You can see the resolution was provided and the request moved to the down phase. At the same time, you will receive an email to notify that the device was delivered. This is the main path of our app. If you want to check more functionalities, please watch the other videos.
I think just for me, one of the big things that stands out about what SMAXTEMBER have done is the sheer breadth of that app. I don't know if any of you saw it, but as they were going through that video, you could see the amount of different entity types that they'd created. And one of the things that I found out whilst we were looking and doing the review was actually that they'd actually spoken to people within the healthcare industry. They'd actually done some interviews to try and fully understand everything that would be needed. So there was a lot of care in itself taken into building out that studio app and the breadth of it, making sure everything there is really useful. And I think for me, this is a really excellent case of a situation where we're taking the power of a service management tool like SMAX and extending it out to cover non-IT use cases, sometimes referred to as enterprise service management, or has been out there. But I think, especially in them non-IT, and a different one to the usual that a lot of people see when we talk about facilities or like HR as an example. So I want to congratulate David Elmer for the absolutely amazing work that they've done there. Will they win? Who knows? We shall. You don't have long to find out, but you will need to wait just a little bit longer to see on who overall wins our SMAXPERT Showdown champion. So, again, just like before, let's build that tension. We're going to switch now back to the SMAX Challenge, and we're going to announce one of the award winners that we have for the SMAX Challenge Awards. So, without further ado, I'd like to announce that Intracom Ukraine have done an absolutely fantastic job, and we have recognized them as one of our SMAX Challenge Award winners for 2022. They had worked on basically a studio app along with some catalog offerings to manage and maintain the overall corporate legal services and support that are needed for an organization. This includes basically preparation of responses for external correspondence, legal advice provisions, approvals of legal aspects of documentation, but also then tracking all the individual activities and when things need to go through multiple approvals, or that back and forth, and also the ability to get that published into the knowledge base as well. One of the things that really stood out for us was the fact that they'd done a lot of work. You could tell in the documentation side. There's a video that they submitted as part of it, which is an absolutely fantastic video. Obviously, you can tell, and I can see that eventually he's reached out to us already to say to thank us for getting the award. But when people are not native speakers, obviously sometimes we see people use translation tools. So there'll be some odd choice of words as part of that, but it's an absolutely fantastic bit of work that they put together to get that nice, well-rounded ability. And I genuinely was really pleased and excited when we got to look at the app and look at the details behind it. So some fantastic work there by Entercom Ukraine. Really appreciate what you've done there. And what we'll do is, as we go into October, we'll reach out to you, obviously outside of these sessions, and we'll look to see how we can get this published on the marketplace, and also send off some certificates for for winning the award-winning the SMAX Challenge Awards. So again, hopefully you'll join me in thanking them and doing an absolutely amazing job. Okay, so that's the first of our SMAX Challenge Award winners. We have one more coming up. But first, we need to go back to that SMAXPERT Showdown and talk about our third and last finalist and who that may actually be as part of this. So, as you saw earlier on, that is, of course, the ULT, which is one of our partners, Limit IT, based out of South Africa. And this is a single participant in it. So whereas some of the other teams like eSmackers had 4 in their team, obviously Smack City only had 2, but this was just Chris all on his own, shall we say. But I'm sure he had plenty of support in the background around him. And Chris did looked at another enterprise service management use case and looking about managing the canteen. So managing, should we say, the food and the menus and everything associated with that. But you don't need to listen from me. You can listen from Chris himself and as he explains his app. So let's do it again. Let's run VT.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the session where we will demonstrate the canteen management application that we have written as part of the SMAXTEMBER application challenge. The reason why we decided on the canteen management application is to have some fun, to digitize the canteen, as well as to support the notion of SMAX enabling enterprise service management use cases. Furthermore, to enforce the topic that enterprise service management is not an IT thing, but a business thing. Thank you and I hope you find this informative. If we just talk about at a high level work overview of what the workflow looks like from a SMAX perspective, from application, how we designed it, we start off with a canteen manager or a kitchen head chef that defines the weekly specials or the weekly items that are available from the canteen. As part of that, we typically have a static menu, which are options like cool drinks, sweets, crisps, as well as any ad hoc things like toasted sandwiches and stuff things. From there on, we move to the order, where we manage the life cycle of getting the order being placed until the level of fulfillment. Right. When we publish the menu, or when the canteen manager or the kitchen head of kitchen publishes the menu, typically we expect some mechanism of viewing this. What we have done as part of the service portal is we have created a dynamically changing view a news article that's available from the service portal. Here we can see the special menu for breakfast for today. These are the options. A little bit too late for breakfast. In time for lunch. So what do we have available for lunch? We can see these are the options that are available for lunch for today. I'm in the mood for chicken schnitzel, so let's quickly go and all of that. We go to canteen services. We can see we have 3 options available. Order breakfast, obviously orders breakfast. Order lunch would be lunch, and have the munchies is for those ad hoc in the middle type of requests. So let's order lunch. We've got our friendly Max that helps us get over the hump. So let's choose a lunch option. I said I want a chicken schnitzel. For this one, I would like it to be delivered. And the way that we are working today, typically hot desks and these type of things, I might change my location. So I'm going to say office 1, cubicle 4. And obviously we need to pay. And I want, because it's delivery, I just want to pay from a cost center, but there are the various options available. Cost center, if I've got a cost center defined as part of my person record, it will automatically populate. If not, I can go and select one that I'm authorized to use. Any additional items, I would like a cool drink associated with that, so let's choose a Coca-Cola. And maybe something for the sweet tooth, let's choose something that's relevant in South Africa, bar 1. And for that, let's submit and place the order. So that's great. Let's quickly have a look at the menu or the views of order breakfast, and you will see we try to keep it as simple as possible. We again have Max helping us. However, the screen looks exactly the same, and from a munchies perspective, the screen will typically look the same. Again, we have Max helping us or assisting us. However, we can see the options are delegated to specific items. The rest of the screen is exactly the same. Let's quickly jump over to the fulfillment side of things, which is the operator portal. Here we'll see an overview of the canteen. What are the things that are happening as part of that today? So let's quickly navigate to the canteen management application. Here we'll see it's broken into 3 components. The weekly specials is the day-to-day specials defined by the kitchen staff or the head of the canteen. And once we fulfill the process automatically, they become items in the menu management application. And there you can see we have the specials as well as the static options like the cool drinks available here, as well as part of that creation of the menu items, the news articles are also created and then published based on the date criteria or the schedule we have defined. We are interested in the order, so let's quickly look at the order. And here we can see our lunch order for today, which I just submitted. And you can see the information that is already populated as part of what I had, as well as the system automatically calculated how much this will cost me. If we look at it from a workflow perspective, what happens? We receive the order is reviewed for accuracy. It is sent to the kitchen, and in the kitchen it is sent managed from a sequential perspective. And then we send it to preparation phase. Let's just quickly, as part of that, send it to the kitchen so that we can see more automation happening in the back end. We reviewed it, what time it was reviewed, and now we prepare for order. So everyone's reviewed it, and now the order is being prepared. As part of this transition, an email notification is sent to the requester or to the customer, telling them that the order is now being prepared. Once the order is completed, we send it to the dispatch phase. And in this dispatch phase, we look at whether it has been scheduled for delivery, collection, or sit down. If it is specified for delivery, it will obviously transition to the delivery phase. We will need to define who is going to be the person that delivers this. And as part of that, a notification is sent to the requester or the customer that their order is being delivered. If it is ready for collection, obviously a notification is sent as well to notify that it is ready for collection. And as part of that, it would then also be available for sit down. This would be great. However, what if something is ordered that is like a cool drink or a sweetie? Obviously, we don't need to send it to the kitchen, and the SMAX system will automatically decide that there's nothing that needs to go to the kitchen for preparation, and it will bypass the process and ready it for dispatch. We have the same process is followed until the conclusion or the completion of the record. We thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Hope you find this application useful in your environment, and I hope to see it very soon in all of your environments. Thank you for your time. Have an unlimited day. Goodbye.
So there we have it. Our third finalist, Chris from Limit IT, who showcasing his canteen management app. I think what stood out to us about this one was the fact that, again, similar to what we saw with SMAX, is a very well-rounded app, very much in that enterprise service management space. And he showed a couple of little cool tricks as part of it, like automatically creating menus through news items as well. And I just imagined when we was doing the demo, he actually did a longer 30-minute video, which will hopefully make available on the session catalog. But you had the ability to kind of sort of imagine someone in the canteen area or in the chef or whatever with an iPad set up, just like you see in some fast food restaurants and that kind of thing, just clicking next to say the order's ready and it triggering off the next step for someone else to do something. So again, absolutely fantastic work by Chris. So I want to congratulate Limit IT as a partner there and what they've done. Brilliant work. Now, have they won? I don't know. We shall have to wait and find out. But we're not that long to go now. So let's see as we move on, and we'll switch back to the SMAX challenge, and we'll look at our final award winner as part of the SMAX challenge. And that is Pagenkov IT Consulting. Pagenkov have shared with us a vacation studio app that they've built. It's an absolutely fantastic app they've done. They sent us the details, even gave us access to a system where it was already built so we could log in and have a look at it and try the different roles that they've created as part of it. The whole concept of this was obviously managing your planned vacation for employees, and it's one that they use themselves or looked at using themselves, which is, I think, even greater example in my mind of how useful an application this is, and obviously includes things like the offerings and the approvals, and they had even created a studio app for managing some of the configuration of some of the settings around it. But what stood out for me as one of the little extra things that they'd done was they'd utilized one of our new features with the custom service portal widgets to have a little portal special view for managing your vacations. And I'll quickly pop up a quick screenshot of how they've done that. So this is within the portal. So instead of a normal, should we say, offering, you'd click on one of the icons and you'd see this view of your vacations, and that would launch the various requests to or cancel it, but also see all the ones that you've got there as part of it. So again, I want to say thank you to Pagenkov. Absolutely fantastic work that they've put in there. A definite award winner for the SMAX Challenge Awards. So again, as part of that, maybe we'll try and see if we can get them alongside our Intercom UK to do something as part of our SMAX user group. But we'll certainly look to see if we can get these published out onto our item marketplace for all of you others to be able to utilize as well. So again, thank you again for that, and that's on there. So we're almost at the end, but I guess before we announce that overall SMAXTEMBER Showdown 2022 champion, I just wanted to pause briefly just to talk about where next. Now, we did mention earlier on that as part of our overall SMAXTEMBER setup, we will have all the content available on demand for all of October, and that we will be reaching out to you with our Monday with Max email newsletters, which we may even have posted on the Micro Focus blog as well. And who knows, maybe we might turn that into a regular weekly blog. That might be an interesting thing. But we also wanted to highlight, because not many people probably knew about this, certainly with the amount of people that have registered, that we actually have currently a bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks, a SMAX user group webinar meeting designed for more the technical practitioners, where we tend to do focus on things like either doing our release readiness. So when we have brand new releases come out every 6 months, we'll do a special session talking about the new features. We'll also then have sessions where we'll do a feature spotlight. So we'll look at a new enhancement or a new feature that exists as part of the SMAX and the wider SMAX solution. and go into a bit of a deep dive. We've done this a couple of times on things like the integration hackathon. We did one on the custom widgets, and it's really useful to try and supplementary to what we have in our overall documentation. And of course, occasionally we also do what we call an office hours, where we basically have an open session. It's not recorded, but we give it an opportunity for you to ask questions to either our technical success team or some of the product managers like myself who tend to join those calls as well, and maybe try and help debug or walk through maybe an idea that you have. So the next SMAX user group session is scheduled for Wednesday, the 12th of October. So only 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks away from now. And it is at the same time as when we do the we've been doing these SMAXTEMBER live sessions. So at that 5 p.m. Central European time, 8 a.m. PST. Obviously, we're going into that time of the year where some time zones change, move forward or back an hour. So obviously take that into account. But what you can do is you can go to the tiny.cc SMAX UG topic URL, and that will take you to the page within our SMAX community where you can see the full list of all our previous recordings and where they're all seen, as well as potential upcoming calendar topics. Currently, we don't have anything forward-looking because obviously we're just getting to the close of SMAXTEMBER, but we'll talk about what's happening on that 12th of October session. But you can also register for the SMAX user group. We use GoToWebinar as our tool of choice for those webinar sessions. So if you go to tiny.cc/SMAXUG or SMAXUG, that will allow you to register. You'll get an email. You can download a calendar invite, which you can have then for the next meeting. But we do recommend people set up turn it into a repeating calendar event, because unfortunately the way that it only sends you one calendar notification, not for the actual series. So I absolutely hope, I know that we'll see many of you joining our SMAX user group, and and a lot of the feedback we get from that is pretty good. And one of the things that we're going to look closely at is the feedback that we get as part of the survey we'll send out with Monday with Max, to see about whether we should change up the way we do our user groups, maybe move to a weekly half-hour session instead of an hour session every 2 weeks, or maybe look to see if there's some particular topics that people are interested in us covering. So look for the details with the survey, and we'll hope to see you in that SMAX user group in a couple of weeks. Okay, with that, we're at almost the very, very end of SMAXTEMBER, and that means there is only one thing left to do. Have we built the tension? I'd ask for a drum roll, but I don't have a drummer in the room with me, and I don't think I could do a very good impression of it. But our SMAXTEMBER 2022 SMAXPERT Showdown champion, who will get the ultimate bragging rights for the next 12 months until the next SMAXPERT Showdown, and be able to rub it in the faces of all the other SMAXPERT teams that took part, is... I don't know, should I pause for a bit longer? What do you think? No, let's get on with this. Okay, the SMAXPERT Showdown champion is... SMAXTERT. Yes, an absolutely fantastic job by Eva and Dave with their patient care app. Brought them on their overall points to the top of the lead. The big things for us was the fact that it was such a well-rounded app. It meant that it allowed pretty much we can make this available to you pretty quickly. And there was so much effort and time and care that was put into it. You could, should we say, taste the love that had been put into it to make it such an amazing app and what they've done there. And as I said, they actually spent time with people in the healthcare business to understand and make sure they accommodate it, and even gotten to do some user testing with it as well, apparently. So absolutely fantastic job by them. Brilliant to see them as their winners. So they will receive one of our trophies. We will be sending one of our trophies to them. In fact, maybe we'll do a little blog post about that or a little video. We'll see how that goes. over the course of the month. So, and I also want to congratulate Limit IT, who came in third, and of course eSmackers with their excellent work that they've done with Skynet, who came in second. It was very close. I will say that when we looked at the scores and we combined the quiz scores with the scores for the app, we did just, should we say, SMAX City did just sneak into the lead there and take that first place. So absolutely fantastic. And again, I just want to say thank you to all of you for being part of this journey of SMAXTEMBER 2022. It's been an absolute pleasure for me to host these. I'm feeling like I'm starting to well up now. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe it's been a very long month. I don't know. But honestly, it's been a joy, and I hope you've got out of this as much as I have. And we look forward to hearing from your feedback that we'll get hopefully through the survey, but also seeing you on our SMAX user group session in a couple of weeks. So with that, I'm bringing SMAXTEMBER 22 down to a close, and we'll see you soon. Thank you again. Thank you and goodbye.